If you only own guns for protection, to protect yourself, protect your home, protect your family, do you honestly believe that there is a responsible way to do that?
Yeah, I do. And I think I've seen it. Like I think I've seen people who really take strong care of their mental health who have guns. I've seen people who really take strong care or extra strong care, of their physical health, so that they can go to that first, right, as a way to defend themselves before they feel the need to go to a gun. I've seen people who get kidnapped or people who get, have something like that happen to them, and they can't fight their way physically out of getting away from an abductor, or getting away from some sort of abuser, right? There's times where it'll go there, and you don't want to be too worried about, in that moment, post what's gonna come, right? We gotta protect ourselves at the end of the day.
You and I are kind of similar. You may even be more good-hearted than me. I feel like you. Well,
but in our longing hearts, we're all the same.
Mutual respect and
Yes.
a boundary might have been crossed
Yes.
that you, right?
That's
So
correct.
just an example
That's a
of,
good example.
it is a great example. I appreciate that for
Yeah.
giving me the example to even work with.
Let's be the change we want to see.
I've never seen difference as negative. I've always been attracted to and intrigued by it. But we're looking for, how are we similar? How are we the same? How can we all just get along?
We are links in a chain. Unimportant.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Working It Out Across Generations, the show where we talk all things conflict, big and small, and being that we have a conflict resolution background professionally, we try to give some tips for reconciliation. I'm one of your hosts, Justin.
And I am your other host, Dr. Lynn.
Awesome. And I think today we have a very, very, very interesting topic, a very, I would even say, heavy topic.
Yeah.
It's got, a lot to it. There's a lot of weight to it, and but that doesn't make it any less important, and that doesn't mean that, we can't find some tips for reconciliation around this, right? So today, very deep, but we're talking about guns. Are guns the problem, or is it the people behind them? And I think this has just been a question that's been posed for quite some time now, and we've just seen nothing but the rise in, the use of guns, people's connectivity to guns, way past video games and things like that now, right? And so, let's get right into it.
All right. Well, I'm appalled, I have to say, at how much guns are used to settle things, to threaten people, to create a sense of security in people. I feel like this is something that makes us not grow as a person. So you don't work on how you can manage your emotions, how you can talk things out more, how you can walk away from things. I mean, even I've heard people say there's no such thing as a fair fight anymore either, like a 1-to-1, shoot
Sure.
one, right?
Sure.
Because people just go immediately for the gun. And we live in the United States, and just the gun violence is so out of control between the mass shootings, school shootings, just a fight that turns into a shooting, someone who gets into an argument and then goes and gets their gun, and all of these things are happening. And then you juxtapose that against the fact that everyone has the right to bear arms, like it's in our Constitution. And so people stand on that. But I think that it's a really important topic because we need to really have some serious changes made. And they start with being able to have the doggone conversation. Because I think that that's, for me, what makes it difficult as well, is that people are literally shouting each other down or gutting each other down just because they can't have the conversation.
Yeah, I love what you said about, there's no more fair fights. I mean, that's absolutely true in my eyes, right? And I think even the rise in, like fighting and people learning how to defend themselves and in different disciplines, right? Like that's definitely been, I think, on an upward trajectory, right? So people are, arming themselves with abilities before they're going, I think, and arming themselves with guns, at least from what I've been seeing, right?
What do you mean?
So going to a boxing gym, going to
Oh, okay.
learning Brazilian jiu-jitsu, right? Like, I mean, literal, anyone who does BJJ out there, y'all know, you guys are literal walking boa constrictors. Like, you literally don't need anything else other than to get them on the ground. And I swear, if you have someone that has been trained in BJJ, that is the worst position you could possibly be in, right? But boxing, kids are learning how to box again. Kids are going back to karate and things like that, right? So I believe that has been on the rise, right? However, those things cost money, right? There's an accessibility factor to going to a gym or going to learn how to take up one of these practices that I feel as though a lot of people don't have, right? And so a quicker way to defend yourself, to arm yourself, right? Which also takes less time, takes less practice, probably. Could be getting a gun, right? Unfortunately, and I think that for me, guns are cool. There's I grew up playing video games just like anyone else, right? And especially the games that your
But
parents.
not in our house. He did not grow up playing gun games in our house.
Yeah, that's something she prides herself on. But that we just snuck around her, so it's not like we didn't do it in our house, but it got done some way. I got exposed to it somehow, and it was through video games, right? So I think for me, past like Call of Duty, past like GTA, I think that everyone should know how to shoot one. I think everyone should know how to operate one. God forbid you're in a case where you have to use one.
But
However,
why do you think that? Why do you think that everybody really should have that ability, that skill?
I mean, do you want me to give an answer to a parent, or do you want me to give a real answer? Depends on how you're gonna take it. I mean, 'cause this is a tough conversation.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if you know not everyone's gonna fight fair,
right.
you have to have the ability to go to that place where you would do anything to defend yourself. I personally believe that some of the most purest hearts, some of the most safe people in the
Right.
world have the ability to turn that switch on and off because they know what a real perceived threat looks like.
Right.
And so for me, it's one of those things where, what are you going to do if you have 5 people trying to jump you? They already have put hands on you. They've already done whatever, right? It's like you have to have the ability to either fight back and stand your ground, right? Or use it, right? But regardless, that's a place mentally or a place emotionally that you have to take yourself to. And I think that we have to have the, just for the yin and yang of the world, for the duality of a person, I think it's just important to have the ability to, turn that switch on and off from when you can just hang out to when it's also potentially time to get down, like to the biggest degree.
Well, one of the things that I remember a friend of your dad's actually who carried a gun most of his adult life, who later in life refused to carry it. And he said one of the things that he noticed is that he would be ready to pull it out much more often because he had it, right? He wasn't going to go to, let me see what I can do and not pull it out, right? He was just going to straight up, let's go. There's a funny scene in Indiana Jones, the first movie, and he's fighting everybody, and then he's tired, he's finally, and this guy comes out, and he's wielding like the machete, and he just goes, oh, screw this, and he just takes out the gun and shoots him. He's like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
And I think that makes me think of that, and that how many people, number one, do not have that kind of control of themselves. Number two, perceived threat, actual threat. I mean, science shows that the brain really doesn't distinguish between the two. So If you think that it's a threat, it could be, it may not be. Does it call for that? I think there's so many things in this that aren't simple.
For
that
sure.
people
For sure.
make this a simple argument, and
sure.
so we have a question, right, for both of us. Do you believe that there is a responsible way to be a gun owner if you only own guns for protection, to protect yourself, protect your home, protect your family? Do you honestly believe that there is a responsible way to do that?
Yeah, I do, and I think I've seen it. Like, I think I've seen people who really take strong care of their mental health who have guns. I've seen people who really take strong care or extra strong care, of their physical health, which also is not, just lifting or whatever. They may have taken up another practice, another discipline, like I said earlier, in a boxing, in a Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so that they can go to that first, right, as a way to defend themselves before they feel the need to go to a gun. I've seen productive conversations, especially with kids, unfortunately, and I know that that's a very thin line as far as, at least in our country, like, how kids should be brought to guns and what that looks like and stuff. But, I think that there is a way to do it, right? Like, even just going skeet shooting or something like that, right? Like, I think everyone should know how to use one, because God forbid you're in a position where, you have to, and you don't want to think too much in that moment, right? Like, I just think about all the people who, it only sounds like it's in the movies because we watch so much film and stuff like that, but like people who get kidnapped or people who get, have something like that happen to them, and like, they can't fight their way physically out of getting away from an abductor or getting away from some sort of abuser, right? There's times where it'll go there, and you don't want to be too worried about, in that moment, post what's gonna come, right? We got to protect ourselves at the end of the day. And so I feel like, yeah, there is a way to do it, but you definitely have to put things in place, and you have to make sure you're keeping up with those things, because this is the question, right? Are guns the problem, or is it the people that own guns that are the problem? And I think we have a lot of gun owners, and we've seen a lot of gun owners who, may have been lacking in one of those other areas that, they really need to support themselves in order to be a responsible gun owner.
This is a hard one for me in so many ways, because I think so, yes, except I think that our fascination with guns in this country makes it more difficult. And we know people. You know people who have 3, 4, 5 guns. It's like, how much protection do you honestly need, or are you just really fascinated with guns? You really like them,
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think
That's a good point.
that with yourself, you have to sit with what's the necessity of collecting them to use, right? Because you're not collecting them in a shelf, enclosed, and you're looking at them and you're showing them off. I know some people do that, but that's not what we're seeing. That's not what we're seeing. We're seeing people saying, oh, I got to get one for my wife. One she can keep in her purse, one she can keep in the house. I got to get one for it. And it's like, what is that about? And then those same people, I've had the privilege of being able to say, can I just ask, how have you had to use it? No, I have not. But what if that one time? I get that logically, but I feel like it's almost like they're waiting for that one time.
Yeah, I hear that.
Right?
I hear that.
And that, to me, I think requires some real thought about what's behind this for you. So
I think it's also just more likely in this country that you're going to run into gun violence.
Yes.
And it's one of those things for a lot of people where it's like,
I don't want to be
do you
caught
want
off
to
guard.
run, or do you want to or do you want to just sit there and take a bullet? Like, what are you going to do in that moment? And I think that while I hear what you're saying, right, unfortunately, mass shootings are way more normalized in this country
And skipped over.
than ever.
Yeah.
Like, there's more going on than what gets reported.
Yeah.
And so I think it's one of those things where, for a lot of people in the human mind, and then please, let us know what y'all think, obviously. But I think for
where
a
y'all
lot
at
of
on this?
I think for a lot of people, they feel like, in sports terms, like, do I want to give up 30 or do I want to give 30?
Yeah, something about what is it? I
But you know what
forgot.
I mean?
The end of what I'm thinking of is, do I want to be carried by? Do I want to be judged
Yeah,
by
just
12?
by 12, or
Right,
you know what I mean? It's that kind of
something
mentality.
Like that, yes.
And I just think that's a fair mentality for people to have. And then also, why we're doing this episode, it's a fair question to ask, like you've asked, like, for you, what do you feel is your connection to this?
Right.
Because I have a lot of just, wealthy friends and things like that, and they're collecting them. Like, they're just collecting them for fun. And I'm like, I'm sorry. You know damn well you would never up that gun in any scenario, let alone one where it's like real bullets are flying, right? You know what I mean? And so, of course, it depends, but I think that people who, really are pro or support of guns definitely deserve at least their say as to, what their connection is.
I think they deserve their say. I also agree with just me, the kind of person that I am. I like to know as many things as possible. So I'm not the gun enthusiast, but the knowing how to shoot, when like things that you should not be afraid of is really more of where I'm coming from when I talk about something like a gun, right? Or I always wanted to be able to drive any vehicle, including a large truck, like that kind of thing. The things that you should not be intimidated by. So for that skill level or whatever, but I think that where we are is this mass fascination, and when I was growing up, we didn't have the video games, okay, and we certainly didn't have the games of guns, and so it was not a proliferation of the idea and the fascination and the thrill and the skill and of shooting a gun, right? There was none of that, and yet people had guns. I mean, that is really true, and people were getting shot. It is not the same as it is today, but it's not as if the younger generation brought this in and it was never here before. No. It was absolutely here before. I mean, we have hunters in this country, right? I mean, that goes way, way back for centuries.
We take pride in our military and things like that. True. So, the people who are military, I think that fairness, especially could and should be extended to them as far as, as we were talking about a little bit before we got in front of the cameras, like their idea of fun, right, could be just working on their shot, right? Could be things like that.
Or release, stress relief.
Right, stress relief. It's a stress reliever. If you haven't gone to a range before, I mean, try it out. If you're against it, especially if you're against it, I'd try it out, and just see what that feels like. Because I can only imagine
stress reliever
for some people that, it is a release.
For some people, I think that it is, yeah. But I also think that there's a imagination as to what this goes to.
Sure.
Right? For instance, I think a lot of people still don't know that most police officers retire without ever having fired a weapon. Still, to this day. Right?
Sense.
Most people do not know that. I think that people have this idea, this imagination that they're firing the guns every day. And I'm not saying that they're not shooting people. Don't misquote me here. I am saying, though, that I think that we tend to imagine, first of all, the worst, right? The brain is here to protect us. And so you got to look out for the scenarios where we might be in danger. But I think that this whole fascination with guns is a result of so many things converging at once. And really, in the United States, I think it's just out of control. And I think that there's I think that parents that give their kids guns, I don't know how much they're truly preparing them. And on top of that, making sure that their mental health is good, making sure that they're not growing up in hate environments, because it isn't always just mental health, right? If you're taught to hate,
And hate environments can look pretty.
That's right.
They don't need to be
That's
a
right.
ghetto or whatever.
No.
Hate environments can be a nice high rise, whatever, or a nice house, whatever.
Nice house somewhere,
Yeah,
or
that's a good
somewhere
point.
rural
Really good
or wealthy. It doesn't matter. Right, but I think that all of the things that need to go into a conversation around how you are a responsible gun owner who's really, even if it's hunting, right? So it's hunting, but do you need to have that as a protective weapon? Do you need to accumulate so many, what do they call automatic weapons,
Automatics,
right?
yeah.
Because I keep thinking machine guns because I grew up
Yeah,
in...
that's an
It is
automatic
what it's called?
weapon,
Okay. Well, I watched a lot of the Turner Classic movies with the gangsters and all that stuff. So machine gun was really what it...
Well, but question though, what do you say to those who deal with like home invaders?
Right.
Like
What do you mean?
Like so how would you handle a home invader if you didn't have a gun?
I don't know.
Right. So I think
but
that's
how
like
would they handle it? I'm saying.
If I have a house, and you run in my house, I'm putting down whoever running my
but
damn
I'm
house.
saying that do they really truly?
I'm not wrestling you.
Do they really truly prepare for that? Is what I'm saying.
I think a lot of
that
people do.
Okay, so maybe you're right. A lot of people do. I don't know that a lot of people do, and I don't know that a lot of people do around when they have kids in the house or when
that makes sense.
When they expose their kids to weapons.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's.
I agree
I
with.
don't see us as a society that talks about a lot of stuff. I just don't. I don't see us as a society who makes plans for a lot of stuff. Who does?
Sure.
Like in the schools, they're doing shooter drills or whatever, which is
remember
terrible,
those were crazy.
horrible. But are you doing that at home? I just feel like there's this idealism around it. I really do for a lot of people, and there is not that preparation. So are there ways, could you be responsible? Yeah, I'll give you that. I think so, but I do not think that we live in a society that really gives a damn about that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it also hits us differently, personally. We live in New York City, right? We're based in New York City. Like, the gun laws are stricter here, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that things aren't happening, but go down south where, like, you run your mouth a little crazy or you get too drunk and you try something on someone, right? Like, who knows? I think that there's just a set of rules and a set of ways in which people go about being responsible around their guns, which is different place to place.
Well, my impression is that responsible is I lock them up, right?
That is your impression. Lock them up, don't use them, don't touch them. And I'm saying, what are you going to do?
No, they do use them, but they lock them up to be safe, right? Especially if they have kids,
Yes,
if they lock
of course,
them up.
of course.
I'm going to say that I'm not sure what kids we all think we have, but kids are smart young. They watch you, they figure it out, they mimic you, they know where your stuff is, and
that's really bad. We've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that get really bad.
Yes.
For sure.
Or you have parents who don't think that their kids, maybe they don't lock it up, but they think they put it someplace where the kid will never find it, and then they end up doing it.
Yeah, that's real.
I also think that there's not a lot of conversation around just how, like, what age, I don't know, what age you should really be teaching your children, exposing them to it. I mean, there's a lot here, there's a lot here that I know that in my travels, in my conversations, in my work with people, that this is the conversation that's not being had in a constructive way or a really comprehensive way. People are just either arguing that you're not going to take my guns from me, or they're arguing that you don't care about human life and this is going too far, and so I don't care about your guns. You are your guns, right? And that's not what's going to get us to a place where we actually can be a society where people are responsible around this. But again, is it the people or the guns? I think it's the people. I don't think that it's the guns itself.
For sure. I for sure think it's the people, because even think about just, the way in which we go about like de-escalating certain things that are going on, right? Like I don't think we always have to shoot for the kill. You know what I mean? Like you can hit a kneecap if you got to really just get someone like away from something or something like that, right? But it's the idea that honestly we're just exposed to so much death, and we
and violence,
and and that death, it can't be peaceful, right? That we are programmed, if we think gun, see gun, whatever, that it has to be used to kill, right? And I think we could do differently when it comes to that, as far as if we're trying to protect someone or something from some other kind of harm that could be worse.
Yeah, I think people also have to ask themselves how often that happens, right? And I think that...
But also real gun owners know that. Like responsible, I think
Right.
responsible gun, because they're not always trying to kill,
Right.
you know what I mean? It's like, that's why I say, like, fighters who are really, really fighters, right? Like, they're the softest hearts and the coolest people in the world, because they know they're not trying to use that all the time, because that's a place you have to really, go to, right? And so,
Yeah, well, we're responsible in like martial arts.
Yes,
those
for sure.
The senseis will teach you that this isn't about going around beating people up.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
This
And that is
about
that's
defending
very much
yourself.
Yeah, that's never
right?
gone away. I can say that.
Absolutely. But I think that it is past time, and people probably even there are people that who have lost their loved ones, right,
sure.
to gun violence, who are probably even thinking that there isn't time for this conversation. Like it just has to end, that there has to be legislation and it has to end. And I think that I don't think that it's going to be that simple.
No.
Not in a country that really, not just the fascination, but the love of guns and the use of guns is here. The other thing is, as you said, the access thing, but the access to guns. Like our young people have access to guns in ways that they should not have.
Yeah,
no one
crazy.
should have. And so as a result, there are so many who are running around with a gun. And then without even a lesson, right? It isn't about that. It's about, this is a form of protection. The minute you see that, that's what you think. You don't think, I got to be responsible about it. And nobody's telling you to be responsible about it either. But do you feel like growing up, because yes, I said at home, you didn't. I was never naive enough to think that you were not going to be playing it at other people's homes. I know,
figure it out.
I know better,
Kids
right?
figure it out, man.
But do you feel like what's the difference? Is there a difference when you're playing a video game? Because we've played a lot of sports video games at home. Like, is there a difference when you're playing a shooter game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like your focus levels go up a little bit more, right? Like there's more often more input as far as how you're using your hands, right? The connection between
But even inside, within, feelings that come up.
We get excited.
Yeah.
Like I don't really like.
But do you feel
I don't
like
know.
it's the
I can't
same
make
level
it.
of excitement with sport when you're doing it?
Yeah, I mean that's me though. I love sports games. I love that stuff, right? I love sports. So I get the same feeling if I beat someone in an online game, of 2K or Madden or NHL, which any of you could see me in, just let me know. We have the email, we can drop that in. I'll drop my PSN. Any of y'all can see me any day of the week.
Okay.
But if I get a win there as compared to if I drop 30 kills in Call of Duty, absolutely it feels the same, right? If anything, maybe a little bit better because it was a little bit harder to do that in the shooter game, right? I mean, it's just...
So we're just going to do a little bit of a detour, although it's on the same subject. What is the point of these games, these shooter games? For those of us, parents like me, other people who may not be a parent, but just that's not your thing, what's the point?
It's just more mature. It's a maturity thing. When you see that M on that game covers compared to the T, right? It makes you feel like you're an adult. and like you can be exposed to adult things, that you can handle adult things, right? I don't know a single kid that, when they're a kid is trying to stay a kid forever. I don't know a single kid that feels that way. It's always when you get older that we go back and we say, damn, I wish I didn't have to deal with all these responsibilities and I still had nap time and I still had all this other stuff, right? But I mean, no,
Kids
it's
are
it's
trying
one of
to
those
grow
things. We're
up,
trying
yeah.
to grow up. We're trying to show you guys we can hang. We're trying to show you we're cool. And the more you expose us to mature things, the whole thing with GTA, right? They have sex in that game and like, strippers and strip clubs and all that stuff, right? So it makes us feel like we're, actual in a weird way, like if not contributors to society, just like actual members of society and not just kids that
That's an
are
interesting
that are
thing.
just like exempt from I guess the real world. Like we want to know the real world. I don't know a single kid that can't smell out BS and when things are being hidden from them and like stuff like that, and they know at the end of the day it's because this person thinks I'm not ready to receive that when I know me better than anyone else. And I feel like a lot of kids feel that way. So it's like some kids know that they like that stuff early, and yeah, you definitely want to, I guess if that's the case, implement more conversations, implement, more of that open door policy, right? And put certain things in place. But, I think that every kid's growth trajectory is different. And some of them are just ready for that earlier than others.
Well, I think also if they see that the adults in their life are playing those games too.
That also
then
happens.
that
I know.
plays.
Shout out all the gamer parents. You know what I mean? I love my parents that they weren't gamers, right? But shout out my gamer parents. Y'all are amazing human beings. I have nothing but love for all of you.
Oh my God.
I have nothing but love for all
I mean,
of
I
you.
think fine. Again, if I go back to, I think you should get as many skills as you can, right? That can be positively impact you in the world. So hey, shout out to the gamer parents too, because that is a place actually that I think that we do not and could not connect, right? Because
No.
I tried.
So did my dad, and it didn't work, bro.
It didn't.
And we tried. Kids will try to bond with you. Kids will
Yes,
try. So
that
if
is
you're
true.
not with it, I mean, what do you like? I'm gonna stop liking it because you don't like
No,
it.
we didn't want you to
It's
stop
like,
liking
no,
it.
and I
It
think
just
that's-
wasn't a
I'm-
place that we connected.
Right, but
Yeah.
that's where a kid's brain goes. It's like, okay, because you don't like it, I have to stop liking it? No, screw that. This is
No.
what I like, and if you don't like it, then just let me play it alone. And I think, that's, I don't know if it's something I would have wished that I had growing up. I don't think so. But I definitely can feel a sense of, I felt a sense of like, I got to be more me or be more just like free to like the things that I liked sometimes when I wasn't home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Strictly off of
Absolutely.
stuff like this
And
being banned, where I'm like,
Right.
no, I'm ready for GTA. I'm in 8th grade. Why am I not allowed to play GTA?
I'm good with the decision,
14.
y'all.
Like, what are we talking
I'm
about?
good with the decision.
And so,
y'all. I'm
you know-
good with the decision.
No, it's fine, but that's where my head was going of like, I grew up quick, so I'm just like, this doesn't.
Well, you
doesn't
had
scare
a
me.
brother
It
who was
doesn't
6
faze
years
me.
older, so that also
That was his
contributed.
experience as well.
Yeah.
And he bought a whole bunch of the games and played them every time you guys even stepped out for groceries. So I'm saying, like, also, so as much as we don't regret that decision, right?
Right.
Like, it's also one of those things where we weren't talking about it back then. It was, no, this is what it is, and it's my house, and we're the adults. So that was it. And I think that, if anything, we're just saying now, let's open the conversation.
Right. And so that piece I'd probably say, right, that it would have been good for your dad and I to revisit that conversation.
At another point, you guys
At
are older
another
now.
point,
You guys have
right.
girlfriends. Like, you're going out. You're chilling with your friends. Let's talk about this Grand Theft Auto thing.
Right. And I think it's because we didn't, again,
Or
we
Call
didn't
of
grow
Duty.
up on it. We didn't know what it was about. It didn't sound good. We didn't see how that really would do anything in your life. But I think that is the piece that we're talking about here.
Oh, man, we
is
missed
that
out
we
on
have
some
to
camaraderie.
have that kind of conversation. And so this is what we're talking about today and why we're talking about it today. And I think we want to really talk about the conversations need to happen. So if you are going to have the conversations, right, then we want to give you a little assistance with that.
Yeah, so first thing that I would say, if you are trying to have the conversation, and if you're pro-guns, right? So if you support, you're pro-guns, here's what I would say. First thing, don't try to convince others to be and think the way that you do, right? I really think that with this conversation, we have to lead with experience, right? I feel like, lived experience really is valuable, right? As far as informing, where we're headed, as far as handling certain problems and providing certain answers for certain things. And, I feel like we really have to come from a place of openness. People land how they land with this. This is a very complicated subject and it's a very heavy one, right? So as you said, right, there's gotta be viewers here who have lost someone to gun violence,
right.
and it was completely just like unwarranted. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying people deserve, right? But I'm saying like, we lose people to gun violence just from being bystanders, just from being in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? And so I think that people's lived experience, we should do more honoring of that, even in our discussions where we might disagree or we're trying to, just help someone see where we're coming from, so just let people be where they are.
Yeah.
Let them come as they are.
I think that we come to a lot of conversations trying to convince.
Correct.
And I think that there's a lot out there that people have not heard or not listening to, refuse to listen to. So coming into the conversation, trying to convince, understood, it's heavy. I feel heavy talking about it today, right? So
Yeah,
there
I
are...
I'm about to do
yeah,
some
but
work
that's
there.
the beauty of what that's the beauty,
I know.
That's the beauty of what we do,
Yeah.
right? Is that we are who we are, right? We bring that to the conversation.
Yeah.
But I feel heavy
That's real.
talking about this today. So if someone were to just come in and try to convince me that as a gun owner, they're right, I'm wrong, right? I don't think that would sit well with me. It wouldn't help me to listen as much.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Next, I would say pro-guns really provide some research and evidence as to why you feel that's the way to go in regards to safety, right? I believe safety is the one thing in this conversation that we all agree on as far as wanting to build a more safe, inclusionary world for everyone, right? And for all walks of life and all beliefs and all those things, right? However, we argue about how to go about that safety, right? How to implement that safety. And so I think that if you are pro-guns, it's really just important to, just provide those like, hey, this is those stories where it's like, hey, this is where a gun actually like saved this person's life. This is actually where a gun like prevented further deaths or any sort of violence, right? And so bring those stories front, and I feel as though people will be able to, connect to, okay, like at least in that scenario, I could see how that's implementing some safety, right? So in regards to safety, I would say definitely provide some research and some evidence.
Yeah, I think that's good. As long as we don't get into a show and tell match. Right, well, you have a story about how a gun saved a life. I have a story about how, right?
Yeah, this ain't that. This is not that at all.
We're not asking for
Correct.
that. I think that what you're looking for really are stories that illustrate the point, not the point of this is, they had a gun, so therefore this is, having a gun is a good thing. I think it is that you are actually trying to show, hey, in this instance, had they not had the gun, right, they might not be alive, or they wouldn't actually be alive, or
Correct.
whatever it is that you're actually showing how it helped the situation, and that it's a situation that pretty commonplace, right?
100%. I
Yeah.
agree with that. And then lastly, I would say, let people land where they land. You know what I mean? Like, people have their beliefs. People are entitled to their beliefs. They don't have to agree with you, and it goes back to the convincing point, right? What are you trying to go into the conversation with? What are you trying to get out of it? All those things. Those are important questions to ask yourself before making or posing an argument on either side of anything, right? And so if you're there to try to convince people, right, and you get disappointed by the lack of, movement that you've made, right? Just not taking that out on them or not escalating it into something else. We see so much of people escalating things just off of simple, I don't agree with you, right? And that's okay, but it doesn't have to go there, right? And so I just think let people land where they land. People are allowed to feel how they feel, and especially when tied into their lived experience, that's how they see things. And we have to do some more honoring of just where people are, as opposed to doing just like this acknowledgement thing. Like we do a lot of just like, oh, I hear that, but
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense, but it's like, no, really take a second to say like, damn, okay, like I thought about it like that, and voice that, like that's okay, right? And so I just think we become so much closer, even through possibly a difference like that.
Yeah, I think that also to take that a step further is just like, okay, so I hear that point. I'm taking that in. Where I land is this, right? Is there any place where I can really get with, okay, so if that was what we were going to go after, right? If we were really going to have to change legislation, or if we were going to say that a certain age limit, or that whatever, like where's the place where you both land that may be the first place on agreement, right? Because a lot of times what I see are shouting matches, and people don't want people to land where they land. They just want to call them names and feel like they're taking something from me, right? From what I've seen from gun owners, it's my right, and you just can't take it. And I know that we are huge on rights here,
100%.
right? But I just feel the holding of this so closely. And hey, here's where I land. I don't hold it closely, so I cannot knock if you do, right? Because it's something I don't relate to, but I can relate to you holding it closely. That's the piece I think that's missing for a lot of people.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So if you're like me, right? If you may be in the middle on some things, or you're anti-guns, the first thing is speak from the I space, right? A lot of times we start off with the you people, right? And the you people is not meant to be positive. It is meant to denigrate and to put people down, make them feel like they are absolutely wrong in what they are saying and doing and believing, and then you start counting off all of the reasons why. I think you want to speak from the I space. I am uncomfortable around it. I didn't grow up with them. I am concerned, appalled, dismayed, disappointed, saddened by so many deaths, right? Whatever that is, so that it is not about you speaking for a whole bunch of people, even though there are surely lots of people that may agree with you, but you're in this conversation as you. You're not in the conversation as all of these folks that you wish to represent when you aren't speaking from the I space.
And I also would take it further. I don't think you're even speaking from the hypothetical of what you would do if you were in that situation, right? Like really speak from your experience, speak from what you've seen, speak from where you already are, not where you're going or not where you've been, right?
Yeah.
And so just keep it really in that moment, and I think that these conversations can start to get a little bit more productive.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, right, because you are, we do tend to speak from the hypothetical, right? I would do, even folks who,
I even did it on this pod.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I still stand by it, like by the house and like a kid, my kid. Yeah,
Right.
I stand by it, but like I just did it on this pod, right? Like
That is
it's
what
like,
we-
but we got to keep it to what it is now.
Where
And,
we speak
you
from.
know,
And
yeah.
I think that this is a challenging one for folks who are not gun owners and don't believe in it, because when you ask the question, then what would you do, which you asked me here, right? I don't have an answer for that. I've never been in that situation. I mean, if you have an answer for it because you've been in the situation, then that's great, because in that conversation you can participate. But I don't. So anything that I would say would be hypothetical. But I'm going to say this too. I don't rule out that some gun owners are also speaking in the hypothetical. Some may really know what they would do.
100%. 100%.
I
There's some
believe-
people out here that'll put you down.
that
100%.
some people are speaking in the hypothetical, even
sure.
if they own a gun. Next is present a couple of stories with your research. We all love stories, right? Just things that bring to heart and to mind why you are feeling like this and what this has cost us and what it can continue to cost us if we continue in this way. I think that middle road is better than doom and gloom, even though there's a lot of doom and gloom in the conversation, no question.
I agree.
But I do think that if we're only thinking on polar opposites,
I agree.
we'll never get to a place
100%.
where we do something about this.
100%. Find your sweet spot, and for you. You know what I mean? So I don't have too much on that. I really think that if you can find a middle ground, that says a lot about you. You know, even about something that you especially don't agree with, or just functionally struggle to come to that place where you can find that middle ground.
Yeah,
Really
and I
important.
think that that's missing for me in a lot of the conversation. And I probably, just the things that I've seen. And then also, too, this is the people that they put up to have the conversations are people who are absolutely at polar opposites. And it is not that people who haven't lost their children, loved ones to gun violence aren't the right ones to have the conversation. Of course they are. But if the conversation is only at a heightened level, it's a really difficult one to have movement on. And unfortunately, it's way too many people in this country who are at a heightened level at this because there is so much loss to gun violence.
Yeah, don't bring your gun to this conversation. Like, leave it in the car, leave it at home, but bring your heart. That's what I would say to that too. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and the last one is address their arguments with respect.
Good one.
I know that it could be very hard, very difficult, but I think that is really where we want to come from. Do we want to make progress on this, or do we want to continue down the road that we are on? Because it is a disastrous road that we are on, whether you are a responsible gun owner or not. We have way too much loss and death and maiming and just when it comes to guns, right? And so I think that you gotta at least try to hear and respect. I'm not a hunter, but hey, I'm listening. You're a hunter, you have guns, you respect guns, you love guns. I'm listening. I don't want to close the door on that conversation. I want to try to understand, because when we are starting to move toward, is there something that we can work on together to make some real change that creates safety? I need to have your perspective. I need to be able to incorporate that, so that we're speaking for as many people that are a part of this conversation as possible.
Yeah, I would really just, be careful with them words, be careful with your tone, things like that. And especially avoid the name calling in regards to this conversation. I think there's just so many times where, that's exactly been the seed that was planted, but also watered. When we start going at people's character for what they believe or how they land on certain things. And so, just be respectful. You know what I mean? You never know what someone's going through. You never know what someone has on them, right? And you don't know what people have to lose or not, right? So why not lead with respect? Why not lead with openness? Why not lead with trying to understand? Because I think those are just better answers that you're gonna get as opposed to leading with the opposite.
Yeah, and I'm gonna throw a bonus, and everybody really needs to examine their underlying issues and motivations around this one, because there is a lot out there when you can see in one situation, wow, if that person had a gun, then that would have never happened. But in another situation, when the person has it legally and use it responsibly, but then gets shot and killed for it, and you don't say a word, then there's a deeper motivation for you than that everybody has the right to protect themselves as long as they do it legally and they do it well. We need to examine what is this really and truly and honestly about for folks.
I like that.
All right. So I hope that this was a good one. It's given me a lot of food for thought because it isn't something, honestly, other than that I wish that we did not have more guns and that we would actually do something in this country about the gun violence. I don't give a tremendous amount of thought to what are other views, opinions, perspectives on this. I really don't, and I have to own that. This conversation has brought up a lot of food for thought for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's a tough conversation, but, I think this is where you grow. Tough conversations, and, that's where you really stretch yourself. And so, I appreciate anyone that's willing to come to this conversation, just with an open heart, open mind, open ears. And I think that we did that today as well. And I hope that y'all at home watching, did that as well, right? We're really just trying to put these conversations out there as a way to say, we can talk about these things as hard as it can get, as thin as certain lines can be. We can come together and have a civil discussion about these things.
Yeah.
So.
And parents, don't make the same mistake I did. And that is that if you're that parent who is absolutely not, you're against guns, you're against the violent video games, all that, and then you lay down the law, I encourage you to revisit, right? To have the conversations. It may be frightening, like all the emotions, it may be even disappointing for you that your children are enamored with guns or believe that there should be. I mean, it may be all of the things for you, but it's an important conversation to have because look at where we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This was great, y'all. We really appreciate you being here with us. Yeah, man, this is a loaded one actually, but I really do appreciate it. We got a lot out here. So you guys know what we say. Please drop a like, drop a follow, subscribe.
Yes.
Every piece of engagement truly means the world to us. We are about small as all. We are building up to something bigger than us, brick by brick, step by step, and y'all are helping us do that.
That's
so
right.
please check us out on Amazon Fire TV. We're on Apple TV. We're on Roku. We're on e360tv.com, the Trajectory channel. You can also check us out on YouTube at Working It Out TV show. Is it Facebook as well?
Yeah,
Working
we're
It Out
on
TV show?
Facebook too.
And
Yeah,
then
Working
LinkedIn
It
as
Out.
well, Working It Out Across Generations.
Yes. So you know what we say, right? That conflict is here to teach you something about yourself. So go out there and find out what it is.
I'm Justin.
Hey, and I'm Dr. Lynn.
We'll see you next week.
We all come from somewhere, a place with a